Hi, Oscar. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. This is like a repeat. We just said hello earlier, but it was
Yeah,
not recorded.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So you heard of Nothing Media through Suma, I guess, right?
yeah. I watched your interview, the interview she did with you, and yeah, I could relate to a lot of things that you were saying in your story, and yeah, I checked out your website and got interested. I think it's a nice, yeah.
Thank you. So my first question is, how did this apparent non-happening that doesn't happen to anyone apparently unhappen or happen?
Well, I was ever since I was very young, I was seeking for something. I didn't know really what I was seeking for, but I always had the sense that it was uh, never felt quite at home anywhere. So I did a lot of meditation and really tried every single. The spirituality is very, there's a broad. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with words, but there's so many areas in spirituality, and I think I tried them all. And in the end, it gets exhausting, really. And so we can fast forward, I think, to I came across a non-duality speaker on YouTube, and it felt like that message was hadn't heard it, but and I wondered why, really, because I had been everywhere. And yeah, I listened to it for, I think it was Jim Newman, the first guy I was listening to, and then a few others. And I remember I just accepted the whole, there is no one, there is nothing to do. And I just, okay, I accept it. Okay, there's nothing I can do anymore. And then 12 hours later, maybe, I was again seeking for something, listening to the talks. And I came across a guy named David Bingham. He lives in England somewhere. And for some reason, I emailed him. And yeah, we just had some contact over email. And one evening, I was sitting by the computer reading one of his emails, and there was just a stopping. And that I would call that the non-happening, just a complete. I'm sorry if I maybe went too far with the story.
No, 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 no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, but that was it. There's nothing special at all. Just yeah.
Yeah, no matter how many times I try to tell the story of how normal it is, of how uneventful it was, because it's an non-event. People always seekers especially want to hear stories about this over and over and over again. That's why I usually ask this question.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So in that apparent unhappening, the non-happening, if you can just, I know it's hard to talk about it because it's so difficult to express in a dualistic way. Can you just perhaps share a bit more about that? Yeah, sorry.
Well,
I feel you though. I feel you because I get asked the same question. And I'm like,
I don't know really what to say, but everything is a story, and that story seemed to stop. Just a very quick, something stopped happening, or everything stopped happening. And then what we are talking about, because everything is a story, and we're trying to talk about everything being nothing and nothing being everything. So, you know, even the telling of the story is really what we're.
It's an attempt. It's an attempt. We're just trying to attempt something that's
Can
still
you
a
ask
story.
the question one more time?
I forgot already.
Just one more time. I will just be straightforward. Yeah.
If you can just expand on something that cannot be expanded, just the apparent experience of no one experiencing it.
Well, there is no experience in the non-happening.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like if there is a happening and then there is nothing and then there is an apparent happening, but it's very clear that the happening isn't, there's no one in the happening, or there's no one, there's simply just happening, arising. There's no one in that. And it's impossible really to talk about the experience, because the experience is just the ordinary experience right now. There's no, I think you froze right now. The picture froze. Can you hear me? Hello?
Sorry about that.
Oh, now. Okay.
Yeah, we're back. We're back. So if you can just continue. We are at that. There's no one experiencing it, and it's just. I'll let you continue.
No, it's just it's just this, whatever is happening right now, and we can't talk about anything else really. It's just these words right now. There is no experience in this because there's really no experiencer.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to talk about. It's really impossible to talk about because, like I said, everything is a story, and this is things. You know, the mind interpreted someone speaking words. You could call that things. You know. So whatever is appearing is that, and at the same time, it's not really happening. So.
Perfect. Let's go to some questions that seekers want to what is enlightenment?
Well, it's a story, and I think I believe that enlightenment was something would happen to me, and I would be in this state of always accepting and always a constant state of peace, maybe, or you know, the classic stuff, because that's the way it's sold in that way. You know, if you look around, it's trying, you really can go into that story and believing that something will happen, and you will have knowledge of something else, and have the experience of this, but it's just a story.
It's like the ultimate bullshit story. right? Because we have this, we have this idea of it kind of like angels and trumpets. You're going to be Sven, and you are going to be looked at. You're going to be a guru, all that kind of stuff, and
exactly.
it's nothing. There's nothing like that at all. It's just that enlightenment is just a story and a dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, I think when you are seeking, you expect something else to happen, but this is already, it's already like it is. It can't be anything else than just this. So like you say, it's when afterwards it's really a bullshit story, because it's really about when seeing enlightenment as an achievement. It's like you say that this, whatever life is happening or nice, isn't worth shit. Do you know what I mean? Or
it's trying to escape this apparent, story, trying to create a different story by enlightenment or something better than this. There can't be something better than this.
No, I mean, yeah. Because when you think that you are going to be enlightened, and that's much better than the ordinary just life happening.
That's right, yeah.
That's to take a stand to say that that is just the ordinary life of everything. That's not really good enough for me. I have to be enlightened, so I will be this. So I can look down on, the wonder that just this is,
Kind of reminds me of when I started seeking heavily. The thing that came to my mind was there's got to be something better than this. So you go to meditation, you do a whole bunch of retreats, you do a whole bunch of ridiculous stuff, in the story. It's just a story anyway, to try to escape something that cannot be escaped. And I think that's what a lot of seekers are trying to do, is trying to escape the inescapable. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then people go through methods. I ended up teaching meditation. I was meditating nonstop. Did in the story of the Oskar character, was there a lot of methods that you tried?
Yeah, I mean, I tried everything. I was everywhere, and not even in the light of spirituality. I was into the dark stuff as well, because the seeking was all over the place. I didn't really know what I was looking for. And I tried a lot of different meditation techniques. I read a lot of different books about, all from, connecting with angels and the other side. And I was sun gazing. I was, drifting in more to Zen meditation. I could go out to a cabin in the woods for a week, just being there alone, quiet.
We have similar stories. But go on. Yeah.
I there were a lot of things you said in the Zuma interview that I could relate to.
Yeah.
And I also had I dealt with depression a couple of times as well. I've had a problem with drinking too much. But and then coming back to, and all the guilt, while doing that stuff.
Yeah.
The constant guilt I was putting on myself, and it's very exhausting. The whole shadow in the head, oh, you can't do that. People must look at you and think you're holy. People must think you're this spiritual guy and all of that.
It's almost like a double life, right? Because here you are partying, and then the next day you're like, oh, I have to meditate now. I can't believe that I just partied for a whole night, and then I have to get back on my path, my spiritual path.
And it's really always ridiculous. Yeah. No, it's really ridiculous, because it's the tiniest thing. You can watch TV and there's violence. Okay, oh no, I can't watch this violence, but you want to. But no, that's not for me because I'm a spiritual person, so I can't watch that. Oh, this music is a bit loud. No, I can't. I must be calm, and
Yeah.
it's
For me,
it's
it was dealing with spirituality. To me, is a lot of bypassing. For
yeah,
example, I think my mom, went through a brain surgery, so I had to keep it, light, and not really cry and everything.
yeah,
Or dealing with a breakup, you had to present yourself like, oh yeah, it's just and people mistake apparent non-duality. You know what I'm saying? There's no non-duality as an escape.
yeah.
It's actually the opposite. It's actually in this apparent experience anyway. No one's experiencing it, but um, it's almost like the blinders are off.
Yeah.
So if sadness happens, it's full on sadness.
Yes.
If
Everything is
there's
allowed in a
everything is allowed, and no one allowing it.
Yes.
I think the difference is, when I was a spiritual seeker, I can't allow to be sad. I'm not allowed to be sad.
No.
I'm not
Exactly.
allowed. I'm not allowed to have. Oh, I can't have bad thoughts. What are those bad thoughts?
Yeah.
And if I had a bad thought, I would try to sit, for 2 hours meditating, trying to like, how do I get rid of this bad thoughts? And they just keep on coming and coming. Like, oh damn it. Did you go through similar stuff?
Yeah. I had to get up every morning because I had to meditate before I went to work. Because if I didn't, I couldn't really work because there were too much. There could be a lot of anger and stuff, and the meditation helped with the anger, and I knew that, so I had to meditate every morning, just because being able to go through the day really. So there was a lot of not allowing things and a constant, shattering and judging, and yeah.
There was a time that I was teaching meditation, and then across the field there were people partying, drinking. I'm like, that's much more fun. So I went to the dark side and went to the partying side of it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just a story now. I don't want to knock meditation because it did help me. You're right, with anger and frustration. And I would meditate in the morning so that I would be okay to kind of like face the world.
But that becomes a problem as well, there's so much rules.
Yeah.
So much rules.
Yeah. Did you watch What You Ate Too? Did you eat did you become vegan?
No, I didn't go that far, no.
Oh, you didn't go that far. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm always hungry, so I think.
Me too. Yeah. I went as far as to eating only fruits that fell off from a tree, so I would not harm anything.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, but at the same time, it's very interesting, how this appears. It can appear that extreme, and that's in a way, it's fantastic. Even that whole, that story, that intense seeking, the fact that it's appearing is, it's really amazing, I think, now.
Yeah. So going back into those methods and everything, because there's a lot of people that really want to drill it, that what got you there, or although there's no there, they always want to say, well, teach me all the methods and what did you do? Or someone would say that, well, maybe that meditation, Emerson, helped you.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think the seeing of this, or the non-seeing of this, it's very clear that it has nothing to do with the apparent story. It has nothing to do with this. There's nothing that can bring about this, because it's already, everything. And I think that's the really hard part to when talking about this, because it's already what's longed for. There is no, there isn't a this and then something happens and then there is a different this. It's all just this. So because there's no method to do. There's nothing really to do. And if you want to feel good, and if you want to, yeah, meditation is great, but it has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with, you can meditate or you can go sit in the toilet drinking a beer, you know, it's the same thing really. There's no difference.
I agree.
Yeah, but it's really, it's very hard, you know, to talk about it, and it's very hard to understand and see that really. That whatever is arising is really, it's not really happening. It's just this. I'm having a really hard time talking about it as
You know,
well.
sometimes I do too. You know, there's this kind of like clarity that you can't express in words sometimes. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's just like, because the moment that you speak it in words, all of a sudden it gets dualistic. And you try to kind of like, I applaud, you know, like a lot of the speakers that really speak clearly about this. You're doing really well, by the way. You know, Oskar, you're doing really well. Yeah. I think
it's a weird message, really. It's amazing to talk about it. It really is. I don't know why, but it's really enjoyable just to talk about this. But it's so weird because there is nothing to say about it. We're just talking.
I know we're talking,
not going anywhere. It's just
we're talking in circles, you know, in circles, and not really being able to. It can't be captured in an explanation. It can't be described because it's indescribable. We can hint and guess. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like two. I stole this from Paul. It's kind of like two drunken people talking about something. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oskar, did you hear about this non-duality?
It's really weird. Yeah.
But I can talk. Yeah, it's so much fun. I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. Well, obviously, I do a lot of interviews about this. But in the apparent beginning in the story, I didn't really know who to talk to about this. I'm like, okay, because I came from the spiritual world, so all of that has been dropped. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's so hard to. This is actually harder to speak to somebody that has a spiritual background. It's easier to talk to a buddy that has not heard about this at all, or not has heard about spirituality at all. I was talking to a friend of mine that has not heard about, you know, always thought it was weird, you know, about spirituality and everything. And he was like, hey, what are you up to? And I started talking to him about this. And then his eyes kind of like were just like, he went to the washroom, he threw up, and he came back and he goes, it's just, there's no one. There's no you, there's no me. It's just an idea. After like maybe a couple of hours, and then I can talk about this to people that have been in spirituality, and they'll just go in circles. Have you talked to anyone about this aside from your friends or your family?
Well, no, not really. You know, I've talked to Suma about it, and it's in a way different to talking with a dead person. But you know, I used to be I didn't want to talk about this because I tried to talk about it with friends and family, and I felt I didn't see the point really, because it was very hard to talk about it really. So I was relentless to talk about it. But then lately I've been talking to some other friends, and I realized, or I just enjoyed it very much, even if there is frustration and, you know, people really trying to understand or whatever, there is still this it's still this energy in the room that's very enjoyable. And it's hard to point out what it is, but it's so I found out that it's very enjoyable, even if the one you're talking to becomes frustrated and really trying to get it or whatever.
Yeah, I've talked to about maybe less than 5 people in my friends and family circle about this.
Yeah.
And it's but doing this interviews, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you're kind of like a long lost buddy that was never there.
Yeah. Really, yeah. Because now, when we're talking right now, it feels very natural to me.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I talk to you.
Yeah, me too.
But it's powerful in that way.
It is. It is. It's like speaking the same language, although there's no language. If you know what I'm talking about, it's gonna like, okay, yeah. Let's talk about this question. Always kind of like I get asked about this. What do you think of God? What is God, and what is that?
Yeah, we're.
I hope my parents don't see this.
No, again, it's a story, you know. I guess it's different things for different people. People believe in God and that God and this God and blah, 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 blah. To me, it's just a word, really. It doesn't mean anything. So I don't really know how to respond to it. I used to think that God was this, you die and you come to the spirit world and it's like this Godhead with the souls, but just ideas.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I don't know how to respond to that, really, because it's just a word to me, really.
Yeah, to me it's just a page in a story, you know, and it's just kind of like a story time. And I know a lot of people don't like this, you know, this part of the interview because it shakes the me's or the seeker's belief system. But this apparent unhappening is almost like all of those belief systems are just fiction. Yeah. Another tough question is, what is the purpose of life?
Yeah. I'm looking for an answer. I want to answer the question. So, but, you know, there is no purpose, really. No, I can't really answer it. If someone believes that they've found their purpose or whatever, or there is a purpose of life, or they know a way to find out what their purpose of life is, if that's what's happening, that's completely okay. But yeah, I would say there is no. I can't answer it as well. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, really.
What happened is, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
What happened in this character was, you know, the character was a teacher, and you know, publicly said, "My purpose in life is to help people find their purpose." So when this apparent happening, when this rare messaging was heard, all of that crumbled down. I'm like, oh no. It was kind of like, oh fuck, shit. But it was also liberating. Kind of like, oh, okay, there's no meaning to this, really. So, just life.
I remember I had some really strong conditioning, if you will, and that because in the story there was the non-happening. And a few a few, maybe 2 weeks of a relaxation or whatever. I don't really know. And like I said in the Zoom interview, the mind came back and tried to really.
Oh, the comeback of the me.
yeah, you could say that. And that was really intense. The mind was constantly trying to grasp this non-event, if you will, for months. And the conditioning there was, I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but there was a great, this is the wrong word, but it's impossible to pinpoint when this conditioning or whatever just drops away. And in that was a lot of, I don't know where I'm going with this right now.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay, Oskar.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go anyway.
No, I know, but I wanted to tell a story about it, but I
go ahead. Sorry.
I can't remember the story I was going to tell.
You said that 2 weeks of relaxation, and then the mind, the apparent mind came back and tried to grasp this non-idea into an idea. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, but the thing is that it was completely without resistance, or it's the wrong word. I think we fuck that story, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah. I'm sorry.
No. That's okay. That's all right. Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the idea of liberation. Again, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like enlightenment. If people don't, do you want to be liberated from something? What is your definition of? Oh, the reason it's so tight is because I have I'm like, what is going on here? Sorry. I was like, why is it? It's just what's happening. Liberation, that's what it is. Tell us, what is your definition of liberation?
I don't know, again, but I would say that there is an idea that you will become liberated, that you will become liberated from something, but I think the liberation is in the allowance, the complete allowance. There's no one allowing it, but there's just this free fall of chaos that is allowed. And I don't know really how to point to this, but everything is so completely allowed, and there is no one to, there's not an experience of being liberated at all, but whatever is just happening is allowed to happen freely, without the filter or the going in to make a story about it or whatever. So it's very, I think that that is liberation. This is liberation, but it's not a personal thing. I think people think it's a personal thing, that you are the one that gets liberated, but it's impersonal, and that's impossible, to get really. The character of Oskar and Emerson is finally free to just be that character.
Yeah.
Even what, there can be chaos and there can be anger and whatever. That's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's life.
I think with liberation is there's a personification of liberation, or conditions of liberation. So when that personalized or conditioned liberation, it becomes completely unconditional. And when there's no one there, and a lot of people get confused with this, that when there's no one there, they think that it's just a blankness.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Oh, well, the blankness. Well, this is the blankness. What is this? This is the blankness. If blankness is blankness, no, it's nothing really. So this is that blankness, or the nothing. Whatever is happening or arising right now here, in every way, is is that, because nothing is nothing, and it's not even that. So it's apparently this right now, and nothing else really. Because, like you say, there is this concept of something will happen, and then you're floating in space, you're floating in oneness or nothingness, but that's that's an experience. And if someone was it would be pretty weird if someone just disappeared and into just, what I'm saying. This is that nothing here, appearing in every way it can.
This is the no person happening right now.
Yeah.
There's just no one here.
Yeah.
There's no one speaking to no one.
Yeah.
And a lot of seekers try to put that into concept right away, when it's just so clear. You said it really clearly there, Oskar. So I'll let you keep going on with what you were saying, because that was coming out really clear.
Well, I don't really know what I was saying, but no, but it, because you could almost say that because nothing is no thing, something, it's appearing as something. So this is something, because no thing is no thing. And it sounds very dualistic, like it's two things, but it appears as this, as a thing, as something. It's nothing appearing as something. And that is to say too much as well, because even this story right now is being interpreted as a story. And this story is simply just, like I said, a story. Everything is a story. And everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. So it's just this, yeah. Banging the head.
Said. Yeah. when I was seeking, I went to, kind of like you, I even did the ayahuasca. I went to ceremonies. I meditated with aliens, all that kind of stuff. Did you do that too?
Yeah. Meditated with aliens. Yeah, no. Almost did that a few times. Yeah.
It's just such a funny story, though. You know what I'm saying? I can't. I shake my head, but that was lovely, though. That was just a funny story. Like, trying to connect with the people are going to hate me. There's like Christ consciousness or crystals. And
yeah.
You did that too, right?
Yes. But it's funny to see all
Oskar, can we be best friends?
Yeah.
We have some...
I would like to. Yeah.
It's a line from Step Brothers.
Yeah.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I have seen it. I love it. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I did all of this stuff, I said maybe I should do this Christ consciousness, remove all the grids, meditate with crystals, communicate with aliens, tap into my higher being, go to the fifth dimension, or kind of like be in this, secret geometry ship, you know what I'm saying? And that would kind of like blast me to it. So when I encountered this message, I got it from, I saw this book. I was quite depressed and I saw this book, I Hope You Die Soon. So it's almost like a wishful thinking. I'm like, what is this book? And then it was just like, what the hell is this? And I think I deleted the book and bought it again because I was just so challenged with that. Because of course I held on to those, years and years of meditation and years of even teaching it. So everything that I've learned is bullshit. And I did not want to let go of that bullshit. And I was like, it was really, really difficult. And then I kind of like, I researched Tony Parsons, from, I don't really remember the whole, memory to me is really bad right now. Kind of like yours. Memory is so bad. Tony Parsons, and I was like, if Tony Parsons has a whole bunch of this apparent speakers speaking similarly, then that must be the real deal, kind of thing. So I hated it so much in the beginning because I held on to these spiritual beliefs, right?
Yeah.
I held on to, but what about my karma? What about my chakras? What about my Kundalini awakening? All that kind of stuff that I had glimpses in the past, right? Yeah. So it's almost kind of like the last house on the block, and it was just like, how did you when you encounter this rare messaging? What was kind of like the character going through? Mine was frustration and giving up completely. Frustration and giving up.
Yeah, it was similar. Because I've gone through most of the things you mentioned as well, and you get to this point where it is really exhausting. And when I heard the non-duality message, like I said, I accepted. I felt like I was okay. Fuck this. There is no one. There's nothing to do. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I won't do this anymore. But no, there is no choice. I just continued for me. But I really was at that point where it was really exhausted. I was exhausted in the constant trying to find and when I remember I listened to Jim Newman, and I thought it was really, in a way, he came off a bit arrogant in a way, and it was okay. This guy is too arrogant to be.
He's actually the sweetest guy. Yes, but I'll let you go. He is so sweet.
Yeah, but at that moment, I interpreted him as, okay, he don't know what he's talking about, but okay. But the message was very more direct. There was no riddles, and I was attracted to that for some reason, because it was so simple in a way. Like I said, there's a lot of riddles and shit going on in the spiritual world with all the concepts and the Kundalini and whatever. And this was very direct, felt normal, and
To me, it was intimidating for the seeker, for the character. This message, and it was trying to figure it out, trying to understand it, but it can't be understood.
No,
it's impossible.
I remember I wrote down like a mantra, like I can't remember it, but it was like what is being observed is I, and I is the. It was something about that. and I had that mantra in my head, trying to waiting for it to just click, click, click. But I think I wasn't really, I didn't felt scared. I was just done. It wasn't intimidating for me. I don't remember if it was, but I don't think it was. I feel like I'm just babbling on right now. I don't have a.
That's okay.
I'm just trying to remember what happened.
Yeah, it's really hard because it's the past doesn't really exist, and we're trying to, what I'm saying. All of these thoughts and ideas are coming in, are just stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's. I think what the line from that movie from Step Brothers is, did we just become best friends? Yeah. I just remembered that. Yeah, it was similar. I did a mantra too. There's no I, there's no I, there's no me, there's no me. And that's just really kind of like, it's just a story anyway. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when this apparent non-happening apparently happened to no one, it was like a complete shock of its ordinariness. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah. It's the most simple thing,
Yeah. Everything is in perfect, everything is just perfectly placed. I was just looking around, and it reminds me of, I don't recommend doing this. It reminds me of when I took ecstasy before, but without all of the experience. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like someone turn on all the lights. But and then everything is just really normal. Everything is just in perfect place. In perfect place. It's like almost kind of like anticlimactic. Because there's this idea that it's something that is just so epic.
Yeah.
Like, but it's anticlimactic.
It's really, it has nothing to do with gaining or experiencing anything. It's just more like a falling away of something, or a stopping of something.
Someone said this to me. It's kind of like having a flu, and then the flu is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, something really simple, or kind of like sneezing, and the sneezing, when you're hiccuping.
Yeah.
And then the hiccuping stops. You don't even notice it. Oh, the hiccuping is gone.
Exactly. You don't even notice it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then here we are trying to stop the hiccuping, as a seeker. Feels like we're hiccuping it for an eternity, but it's just what's happening, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's completely all right.
I think it's when talking about it, and maybe if someone will listening to this, that's the hard part. I think trying to talk about it in a way that someone will trying to point at it, I think is very hard.
It is. Did you try writing some of this stuff? When this apparent, I wrote a whole bunch of pages, just writing, and sometimes I read up them. I'm like, oh, that's dualistic, and I would delete it and write something again, and then it came really, really clear. You know what I'm saying? The writing was really clear, and I think I reached 100 pages, and I pressed delete.
Okay.
Because it didn't really matter anyway.
But in the beginning, or soon after the non-happening, that I think it's, as soon as there are a dualistic, when something appears dualistic, there is almost like, okay, there is a noticing of that dualism. But right now, that it's really not.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't really care if I try to use the right words, but I don't really care in a way, because everything is just it, even the dualistic terms and whatever. So
everything is clear already.
Yeah. But and I think people like Jim Newman and Tony Parsons are doing a perfect job, pointing, or like you say, expressing that in that particular way. And that communication is very powerful. Yeah, I don't know what what I wanted to say with that, but just I think it's common to say that what you were saying there is dualistic, and what you were doing that's dualism, and but it's all just this,
It's just this.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about speaking about this kind of like in a Q&A? You should. You're really clear. This is
I don't.
We'll
really
talk about
know.
it later.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I when talking about this with, let's say, my girlfriend or a friend, there is this enjoyment in it because there's no agenda. There's nothing to tell really. It's just talk.
Yeah.
So, but there's a part of this that I don't know. I'm not a communicator. This character is horrible at communicating, as you may.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah. But I sit here talking to you, and
Yeah.
I have no idea why, really.
Me too.
I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's funny because people sometimes ask me if I'm going to speak about this, and I just really enjoy the interviewing. It's the same thing. I'm still speaking.
Yeah.
I don't see any difference in speaking, being on the other opposite of the mic. You know what I'm saying? When Sumo was interviewing me, but there's just no agenda. There's laziness about it, actually. People. Yeah. I'm busy, but there's the character before. Well, there's no before. The character, you know what I'm saying? When seeking, it's hard to explain that. Was a very kind of like how would you say it? Wanted to be liked. Right now, there's not. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. See, I'm out of words again. You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah, I know. But just go for it.
Yeah. So I think just speaking in the interview, I really enjoy this. I really enjoy talking to people, and I did an interview with Andreas. We just talked about quotes, because I used to quotes, non-duality quotes, right? So I used to have this book of non-duality quotes, you know what I'm saying, or spiritual quotes, and I held on to it, for 10 years. Like every time I heard a quote from like Nisargadatta or Adyashanti or anyone, I would write it down. And then when I'm speaking, I'll be like, according to Adyashanti, you know what I'm saying? And now it's almost like a throwing away. I think I threw out that book because I was looking at them like, this doesn't really make sense anymore. No. Some of the stuff. I do like some of the speakers, you know what I'm saying, as a person and everything, but some of it is just not resonating anymore.
No, I understand.
Yeah. Did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, well, I was really into Adyashanti and Eckhart Tolle, for example, and I listen to that now, and I mean, what they're talking about is very helpful in a lot of ways for the apparent me. There's a lot of great advice, if you want.
Yeah.
More, yeah, but I don't feel right now there's no resonance with that.
Yeah, really. It's just a resonance. I don't really resonate with it too. I used to, this is what I did with the power of now, when I was a seeker. So I would be walking around thinking that I'm in the now, and I would be judging people. I'm like, this person's not in the now. They're operating from the ego mind or something. And I would preach to them like, do you know the power of now, that you can be in the now? I like Eckhart. I like Adyashanti. Don't get me wrong, you know what I'm saying? But it's just not resonating with me right now.
No, I was always walking around trying to be present.
Yeah.
Like it's a process to get present, like, okay, listening, doing this. breathing. Okay, now I'm in the present moment. Perfect. No.
What a bull of crap.
Yeah.
I used to go to when I would go to someone's house, I would go to a washroom, sit down, and I'm like, okay, I have to be present. I even had a timer on my phone every hour that I have to be present, just to remind me that I'm not present.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of like meditate for 10 minutes. I'm like, and I'll come back and I'm like, hi, I'm present now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the addiction to meditation. Do you still meditate?
Not really, no. Not in the way that when I sit down and close my eyes. I sometimes, you said it beautifully in the Zoom interview, like everything is a meditation in a way. You know, sometimes just watching the cars go by or whatever is quite magical. Not for anyone, but just it is what it is, really. So that becomes a meditation, just doing whatever. Really.
Yeah, everything is.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like walking with my dog, and then um I'm shocked, kind of like, you know, I'm like, I've never seen spring really, or fall, or everything. It just comes, it's the newness of everything. Or looking at a tree and how the leaves kind of like, you know, and I used to try to get to that state in meditation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? To get to that
Yes.
apparent state, but it's always been here. It's always available for no one.
It's not a state, really.
No.
I have an example because I think when we're talking about this, there's a lot of spiritual seekers maybe looking at this, and we're talking about looking at a tree, and that's, wow, a tree, or the leaves. But I have an example because I work with demolition. It's pretty tough job, dirty, and sometimes when I maybe drilling, or you know, there's dust everywhere, weird smells. It's just, even that can be, wow.
Oh yeah.
Even in that chaos, you know. So it's not about what. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, or it could be my poor dog. He's turning 16 this year.
Okay.
And I noticed yesterday and last night and this morning that he has dementia now.
Oh.
It's sad, you know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't recognize me sometimes, but that's beautiful too. You know, there's just I was like looking at my dog and I'm like, oh, you don't recognize your dad. And then he recognized you and he wags his tail and he doesn't recognize you again.
Oh, okay.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Sad and beautiful.
Sad and beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. It's just what's happening. It's just what's happening. So it doesn't have to be, you know, like this beautiful trees or clouds. It could be stepping. Really. It could be stepping on the shit, and you're like, oh, I can't get the shit off my shoes.
Yeah, but that's the hard part, I think. You know, because someone listening to this, but what are they talking about? What, you know? But because there is this, it's so allowed. But there's no one allowing it. And
there's no guard anymore to allow it or not to allow it. There's no more kind of like someone at the door. I don't like this or I don't like that.
So everything becomes this. Everything becomes very wondrous and I don't want to say magical, but wondrous. But not for the person or the me, but for no one, because it's simply just
yeah. The thing that confuses a lot of seekers is the free will thing.
Yeah.
The free will thing. And I'd simplify it and I'll just say, if there's no one to have a free will, so how can it be? How would you explain that? You know, because that's the only way that I can explain it. It's so clear that there's no one, so there's no free will. But there's a lot of confusion about that.
Yeah, but I think it's impossible to
help me out here, Oskar.
I can't really. I'm sorry. No, but like you say, because there is no one here, and this is nothing, and it's not even really happening. You know, it's just an appearance. So how can there be a free will in that appearance? Just, it's empty. It's empty. I can't say anything more about it, really. There's no one that has the free will. But you know, that doesn't mean anything. If you say that to someone, it doesn't mean anything. Well, what do you mean? Of course, I can do this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's a hard one.
It is. It is. I was trying to explain it to my friend, by the way. You know, the one that I was talking about. That was just about 6 months ago, or maybe 4. I can't remember the timeline. But he calls me up once in a while, and he'll just laugh. You know, we'll just laugh for like a good 10 minutes, and then just the ridiculousness of everything. Yeah. Right? He doesn't have any spiritual background, or doesn't have any kind of he listens to Jim and Tony sometimes, you know what I'm saying, or Andreas, and he'll just laugh at it because he goes, they're just saying you know, it's just so simple. And then I crack up too. I think I cracked up for a couple of days because I was trying to get this, you know, for a long time. And then and I watched it after the apparent none happening, and laughed of how clear it is and how ridiculous. It's just so simple, because adding more words into it muddies it up, right? So when nothing is happening, that's all that has to be said. Nothing is happening.
Yeah. And that's why it's so weird that we're even talking about it, really. That's the weird part, I think.
It's just like one sentence, and we're trying to expand it in about an hour, trying to explain about nothing happening.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun.
Yeah. But yeah, it has no purpose. We're just, it's just talking.
We're just talking shit.
About nothing. Yeah. But yeah, it's beautiful because we're not going anywhere. And like you say, it's very funny.
Yeah.
And I think even listening to the more, listening to Eckhart and other more guru-like figures, I think it can be pretty enjoyable because it's so deep. And there's so many colors and so much. It's just like, oh shit.
I sometimes I feel embarrassed because I just burst into giggles all the time. I don't know if you notice some of my interviews, and I try to hide it. It's just laughing happening. It's like laughing. I don't really go to Facebook a lot, but sometimes I go to Facebook and there's a kirtan happening, you know, like some singing, some kirtans, and I used to do it, and I just burst into laughter. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at the perception of holiness. You know what I'm saying? Of that this is holy and that's not holy, and this is not holy. But I better stop because I get into trouble. For no one anyway. Who cares? I don't give a fuck, really. And yeah, I lost my train of thought. So nothing is happening. We'll talk about this again. But do you have any books, any Zoom meetings that's happening, Oskar, or nothing at all?
No, I have nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Well, I really enjoyed this. I'm going to pause right now. Thank you so much for doing this. We'll continue talking just a second. Thank you.